Scroungers, and I quote Scroungers during one of his speeches. Now, I'm not trying to attack him or Labour by saying this, I'm just simply stating the facts. Clearly, their natural statement as a party isn't there. I mean, philosophically speaking, Labour could have come back to the Conservatives and accepted the need to tackle fraud, but defended those who are within their rights, and pointed out that tax fraud is a much bigger problem. But the system they work in persuaded them that they had to follow what they were being told by media tycoons like Murdoch. And it's that system which so urgently needs reform. Just like the corporation has democratic aspects but still ends up disenfranchising various people who have a stake in what they do, the state also has democratic aspects but is not yet a real democracy. Risks are taken by individuals, and the biggest costs are usually felt by those who had least or nothing to do with the risk-taking. Just as there are many ethical and moral and able businessmen who want to make the world a better place, but end up doing anything they can to maximise shareholder value, because that's the system they work within, so too are the many able and ethically minded politicians who end up doing anything to maximise GDP, usually in the short term following electoral cycles, likewise because of the system we live in. The system won't let them reform. It won't let them reform the big things like the environment or economic regulations, and it won't let them reform the relatively smaller things, like the party financing, for example. I mean, the most heavily financed parties have all the decision-making power. Why would we see reform? It's just not going to happen. I don't know, why are we even waiting for it? It's not going to happen unless the system changes. Power is decentralised, and the system moves away from its adversarial roots towards a more consensus-based system. And that's why the DRP is calling for a new system of democracy, a democracy 2.0, based on giving everybody a voice, excluding no one from being able to put their ideas forwards and see them progress in a transparent manner, and ensuring that within a knowledge-based system of research, debate and voting, it's the party members who decide the manifesto, and not just a few at the top, who may have dedicated their entire lives to politics, but let's face it, they probably have little experience in other areas. So, it's about decentralisation. It's about democracy. It's about forward-thinking reform, and it's about empowering people. This is what people are talking about in the Middle East. It's what people are talking about in the Occupy protests. It's what businessmen are even talking about. According to The Economist magazine from the last issue in January, the latest buzz phrases at the top of businesses are, quote, humble leadership, servant leadership, and bottom-up leadership. And in fact, during the 2010 general election, all three mainstream party leaders were talking about being liberals in the sense of wanting to decentralise power. But now we've got a coalition of two of the most liberal parties in mainstream politics. And still we're seeing top-down reforms of the NHS, which both promise not to do. Still, we're finding local councillors can't make changes unless Westminster agrees. Still, we're finding that MPs can't propose new ideas unless their party whips allow it. And the legislative timetable that is passed down from on top from a few members in the cabinet actually allows them to do so. And rich lobbyists don't oppose what they're doing. Still, we're finding that in referenda, people aren't given the choices they actually want to vote for. Still, we're finding that the Prime Minister's anything but first among equals. And so I have to conclude that the system needs to be reformed, power needs to be held at the lowest possible level, and individuals, however well-meaning, can be misled, can be corrupted, so no individual, even if they're elected the Prime Minister, should be able to dictate the legislative direction of this country. So for me, the Democratic Reform Party is about you.